We call the Iberia Parish Council Wednesday, May 9th meeting to order. Ms. Broussard will have the prayer.
Lord, we just come to you tonight thanking you for the opportunity to be able to serve you and to be able to serve the residents of Iberia Parish, Lord. We just ask you to be with each and every one of us tonight, Lord. We have some tough decisions to make. We ask for you to give us wisdom, Lord. We ask you to give us guidance, Lord. We ask for you to place your will upon our hearts, Lord, because we want to do what's within your will, Lord, not what's within our own. Help us to have some discernment, Lord, for not only what's best for ourselves, but what's best for our district and what's best for our parish as a whole. Lord, just keep everybody on friendly terms, Lord, and help everybody to show respect for one another. Lord, we want to lift up our military to you tonight, and those that have served in the past, Lord, and those that are serving presently. Keep them safe and give them an extra blessing for the sacrifices that they make for our country. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Gonsalas, the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Tommy Pollard. Michael Landry.
Here.
Tommy Landry.
Here.
Lloyd Brown. Warren Goshsang.
Here.
Natalie Broussard.
Here.
Paul Landry.
Here.
Ricky Gonsalas.
Here.
Joe Dugas.
Here.
Eugene Olivier.
Here.
Brian Napier. Berwick Francis.
Brian's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, here.
Berwick Francis. Marty Strahan.
Here.
Chad Montreal.
Okay, we have a quorum. Mr. Francis and Mr. Pollard will not be with us tonight. Okay, we need a motion to go into public comments. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Michael Landry. Roll call. What do I do to get this? Tommy. Brian. That motion passes. We're now in public comments. Item number 1, comments from the general public on non-agenda items. We do not have any requests to speak, so we'll go to item number 2, comments from the general public on agenda items. And we do not have any papers filled out on that. So item number 3 is comments from the general public for a public hearing on adoption of the 2018 millages. Is anyone in the public would like to comment on the millages we'll be voting on tonight? Okay, seeing nobody, yes, okay.
Adreco? Adreco? Adreco, yeah, okay. You have an item on the resolution on the agenda tonight.
Number 74.
You want to wait to them?
We can hear him now. if he
Okay,
wants.
okay. Okay. Want you to recognize?
Yeah.
You want to come up to the podium?
I wasn't really planning to give.
Okay, you wasn't?
I was told I was just here to answer any questions. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. If we have questions, we'll call you up then. Okay, thank you.
I was thinking we'd do it right before we do that. Okay, now how do we get this on? Okay, now we need a motion and a second to go back into the meeting. We have Mr. Goshsas has a motion, Ms. Broussard is the second. Roll call. That motion passes. Reports, finance, and administrative action. Item number 1, bid tabulations for mosquito control chemicals, open on April 17th, 2018. We had that in our packet. Item number 2, balance sheet for March 2018 on request. And item number 3, budget report for March 2018 on request. Reports, parish and other governmental agencies. The building permit reports for the month of April 2018 was in your packet. Public Works reports, Public Works Department report for closed work orders dated April 16th to 20 and 23rd to 27th, 2018 was in your packet. Special business Parish President M. Larry Richard to present a proclamation declaring May 2018 as Mental Health Month in Iberia Parish. Mr. Richard.
Yes, I'm going to read the proclamation, then I'm going to give it to Ms. Watney. Proclamation, Mental Health Month 2018, petitions, hashtag for mind, for body. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong research that diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management can help all Americans protect their health and well-being, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organizations, and citizens share the burdens of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental health wellness and support preventative efforts. Therefore, I, M. Larry Richard, do hereby proclaim May 2018 as Mental Health Month in Iberia Parish, Louisiana. And the Iberia Parish President, and as Iberia Parish President, I also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Iberia Parish to recommit our community to increase awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for the appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions before stage 4. I am Larry Richard, Iberia Parish.
Mr. and Mrs. Watney, Ms. French, would you like to get up?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Richard and Council. Since the inception of our nonprofit Iberian Mental Health Initiative, I think this is the 3rd year that we've been before you to receive a proclamation on this important matter every May. So our group, since its inception, has been striving to educate the public through teaching about mental illness and through beginning discussions about it and to erase the stigma. We presented some cards to you on your desk. These are about town. We have several of these in a lot of different places. I think it provides some good information to the citizens about our initiative, about what good mental health is, and also the types of mental illness. On the back, there's some very good resources. There are some phone numbers and resources which are very helpful for our Iberia Comprehensive Mental Health, Behavioral Health, NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Health in Lafayette. And a very important number, 232 HELP, has a lot of information and a lot of resources that are helpful to people, along with the Suicide Prevention Hotline, Shea Hope, and of course your 911 for assistance. So these are good numbers for people that need this information. It's good resources for them to get information about how to deal with the issues, how to deal with loved ones. And in connection with what we're doing, we've recently added another project for support. Catherine has some information about that.
Right, because the prevalence of mental illness is so great and touches all of society, every aspect of society. And because we have in Louisiana the highest incidence of mental illness and the lowest access to care, we are doing what we can, as Dean said, to educate the public. And in addition to that, we were hearing from many that what was needed was some type of support group for family members who are struggling with someone with mental illness. And so we wrote and were awarded a grant from the Iberia Foundation, And we will be starting a family mental health support group. It will be facilitated by a licensed professional counselor. It will be held the fourth Tuesday of every month at the Methodist Church from 6 to 7. And this will go on monthly, and it will start Tuesday, May 22nd. So if you can spread the word, we have a Facebook site, and we have a website that we're trying to get the word out to people and let them know what there is. Because with the proper treatment and support, we like to say there is hope. Persons can live healthy, productive lives. So that's what our mission is.
I'd like you, if you can, stand in the center and we'll take a picture of all of this.
These are some representatives of our group.
Where do you want us to get, sir? Somebody there on this side. There, let's do it. Wait, let me hold it. That's the smile.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you all for your effort.
Yeah, thank you all for what y'all do. That's a humble task.
Thank you. It's nicer to be on this side of the podium than sitting in Andy's chair.
What you have on there, is contact information. We're a nonprofit, we accept donations.
Okay, now we'll move on to council member announcements. Does any of the council have any announcements? Ms. Broussard?
Yes, tomorrow night at the Slyman, District 6, 7, and 8, myself, Paul, and Ricky are conducting a town hall meeting. Encourage everyone to come out and let us hear your concerns and let us tell y'all what's going on. And we hope Mr. Richard is going to grace us with his presence as well. 6 o'clock.
So you can correct the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Mr. Gonsalas?
Yeah, a couple of things. I just want to comment on legislative day that several council members went to Baton Rouge on. Myself, Paul, Mr. Pollard, Mr. Landry, and who else was Brian? Was Brian? No, Brian back there. So we had a very productive day. Joe. I missed Joe. I knew it was one. Sorry about that, Joe. We had a very productive day, visited with some of the legislators, discussed some bills, and our Iberia leadership attended, ate lunch with us. Heard John Schroeder talk, the Secretary of Treasury of State. So we're very blessed to have such a legislative group doing the things they're doing for us, and we connected real well with them. Second thing, we had Spanish Festival this weekend. Go out and support, a local festival in Iberia Parish. That brings economic development to the parish. As much as we can support them, better off we are. We have a lot of festivals. Go out and enjoy the downtown area. The weather should be great, and hope to see you guys out there.
Mr. Gashasar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to give a shout out to Larry and his team and the council members for the Household Hazard Waste Day that we did. It was good to see Mr. Napier show up about an hour and a half late, but he did work. So I'm just letting the people know that Mr. Napier was there. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Olivier?
Last week on Wednesday and Thursday, I had the opportunity to attend the NACO Gulf South Regional Caucus, Coastal Caucus meeting in Galveston, Texas last week. A coalition of states, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Main goal of the caucus is, of course, our national flood insurance rate, which has been being kicked down the road in Washington for the last year or so. The coalition, basically, what we're doing is pulling all our 10 senators together to help keep our flood insurance costs at a minimum. The resilience that parishes and counties are doing across the Gulf Coast is actually helping Washington with their decision-making process and making sure they understand the things that we're doing right now in our local parishes and counties in order to control flooding. So hopefully, the effort the Gulf Coast Coalition is making in Washington will pay off for us in the next coming year when Congress look at our national flood insurance rates and hopefully keep them at a cost where everyone can afford. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Napier.
I was a little late to the waste day, but I did. I showed up and I stayed late. And hats off to all the employees that work so hard to make this happen. I want to recognize a couple guys today. I've been wanting to do it, and I'll probably get reamed out for it. But since I've been sitting here, there's been two guys from my district that come every council meeting. Has made more council meetings than I've made. And I just want to say hats off to Mr. Richard Booty, Mr. Angelo Castilla, I know y'all watching me to make sure that I do the right thing, but hats off, because people come and go, but y'all are here every time. Thank you. Well, I ought to give them a certificate, maybe next week. And if we had more like that, that would be great. But thank you guys for coming to the meeting.
Mr. Olivier?
I'm good.
Okay. Now we go on to parish president's announcements. Mr. Richard?
Just so you know, Brian, he's been coming here for like 16 years, Richard.
I thought it was because of me.
Okay. Last week we had the hurricane disaster readiness meeting, our third meeting. It was very, very well attended. We had members of the parish council attend. Great information as usual was presented. The OEP went over the HR scenario, and it was a very, very successful meeting again this year, like it's been for the last several years. I also attend the 150-year celebration this week at Tabasco for the celebration of Iberia Parish being 150 years old. Also with Tabasco being 150 years old. Very, very, very well attended. The Lieutenant Governor was there. He kicked off his state tour celebrating the National Travel and Tourist Week, including in attendance was a guest, an international travel host. Ms. Samantha Brown was there, and she's going to be featuring the Avery Allen on her television series, Places to Love on PBS. We also have hired a director at the Acadiana Regional Airport. Her name is Megan McLeland. She's the new executive director. She's going to be a great addition to Iberia Parish. She's totally familiar with the airport. She's familiar with the airport authority from her past job with the Department of Transportation and Development, Aviation, and also as a aviation program manager. She has over 16 years of experience in the aviation industry. She's worked with airports of all different sizes. She's from Leesville, Louisiana. She graduated from the University of Louisiana at Monroe with a bachelor's degree in aviation management. She holds a master's degree in business administration aviation. She is very, very knowledgeable of what's going on with airports. I got an opportunity to meet with her and talk to her several times. I think she's going to be a major asset to us at the airport. Public Works, of course. Over the last 2 weeks, we still have them doing a lot of work. Road patching, Natalie, in District 6, District 3, District 5, District 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14. We have culverts cleaning being done in have been done in District 2, 3, 10, and 12. Culvert inspections in District 10. Debris pickup in District 14. We have drainage, field drainage work that's been done in District 8, 10, 13, and 14. We have roadside drainage being done as we speak, and for the last couple of weeks, or the last week in District 10. Shoulder work being done in District 9, 10, 11, and 13, and side boom work being done in various areas in the parish. We've been very busy as usual in Public Works. We had a lot going on in Iberia Parish, and we want to keep it going that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Next up is consent agenda items for public hearing and adoption. We have the minutes, the regular meeting of March 28, 2018, published April 26, 2018, summary number 74, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of Agreco LLC for the Louisiana Quality Jobs Program. Note tabled from the April 25th Iberia Parish Council. Does anybody have anything they would like to remove? Mr. Trahan? Mr. Napier? Okay. Roll call. Yes. Okay. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and remove it then. So we're gonna go ahead and vote on the minutes for the March 28th. Roll call. That motion passes. Now we're gonna go back to summary number 74. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Ms. Broussard?
Yes, I just wanted to point out the information that we got regarding the Agreco project. This is a project for, under the, well, it's a request under the Louisiana Quality Jobs Program. They're expanding in Iberia Parish. It's going to be about 30 new jobs with a projected annual payroll of $2 million. So that shows you that these are the good jobs, and that's what they're applying for under this program. It's the quality jobs that are going to have benefits, and they're also expanding their facilities in Iberia Parish. So I know there's a representative from Agreco here. I just wanted to thank Agreco for investing in Iberia Parish, and I just wanted, while I could let everybody on TV know what y'all are doing for Iberia Parish, and looking forward to your expansion.
Mr. Gonsalas?
Yeah, I'll make it quick as well, and I'd like to also thank Agreco. But far too often, if you're paying attention to the media and the state situation, there's two things that we overlook sometime, and that is paying close attention to your budget, which this council administration does a good job of, staying fiscally sound and making sure we make the right decision. But number two is that we don't pay enough attention to economic development, and we need to pay a lot more attention to economic development. And this is just a classic case of paying attention to who's providing the jobs, who's making investment in our community, and these are the things that we have to support. Much better putting these dollars in private business' pocket than putting in government's pocket. So thank you, guys.
Okay, Mr. Dugas?
Ms. Broussard said it already.
Oh, okay. If there's no other discussion, then roll call, vote your machines. I'm getting close to millage. That motion passes. Okay, you wanna go ahead and put that pie chart up on there? Before we go into the ordinances for the millage, I'd kind of like to do a little millage 101 here. If anybody in the audience wants, we think we have some copies around here. A number of the people out there end up calling us when we start talking about millage, and we've been through the thing of what our total is. We're usually at about 70 mills, but I'd like them to look at the pie chart we have here. And as you can see, School Board, New Iberia Parish, Sheriff, Lowerville, Forestry, Fire Protection, Delcom, Twin Ports, Chaffalaya, Assessors, Decimillion, and Generette. All of us are in this pie, for the millages that we charge for your property tax. So, if you're in the Generette area, you're probably in the Chaffalaya Basin, but then you don't pay some of the other ones. You pay School Board, Iberia Parish, and things like that. But just to be fair to the council and administration, I'd like the public to know that Iberia Parish, what we control, today we're only at 20.65 of the whole 70, which is comes out to about 12% of it. We have the care of, well, I wouldn't say the care of the roads. We ain't got no money for roads, but drainage, drainage, the PEC, and, now we have the healthcare, the inmates that the state doesn't want to perform, and the public buildings, and just all this thing. So when, you're going to call your parish councilman about millage and things, realize that we're not the top carrot guy carrying it. It's divided between a lot of other people, and a lot of other people are in this cost here. So now I'm going to open it up if any of the other councilmen, Mr. Napier.
Just a comment for everybody out there in the audience and at home. This is, if I'm not mistaken, the first year, at least since we here, that parish government does not have any more control over the fire district. So whatever, even though it's gonna all be, tallied up at the end, we used to move it up or down, leave it neutral. We have no more control as parish government, as parish council, to affect their millage. They do that themselves. So I just want that, I'm gonna say it, and I hope everybody says it, and it reminds the people out there that when they're looking at whether we go up, down, neutral, that the fire department is not under our control anymore. Thank you.
Mr. Olivier?
Mr. Chairman, just before we cut off, is this a personal privilege that we're doing here? 'Cause
Yes, sir.
I don't see this.
Yes, personal privilege. Okay.
Can you call that to the attention of the council as a personal privilege?
Okay, we're going to give personal privileges for the different announcements for Millage 101. Mr. Olivier?
I just would like the public to know from time to time, we as council has to look at each line item that we collect millages for. We have to account for a lot of things, particularly inflation in some of these costs of doing some of these services. So there's time where the assessed value of properties in Iberia Parish doesn't change a whole lot. It'd be nice to have new rooftops every year. We can add another $11 million to the tax roll every year to perform the services we perform every day, from drainage to garbage pickup to everything. But that's not always the case. So sometime we may need a slight increase in millage rates to account for the expenditures for providing those services in the parish. So it's not that we want to do it. I wish we can keep the same millage every year, but unfortunately, inflation is a factor in the decisions we make. So just keep in mind that from time to time we will have to go up, and it's not because we want to, it's because the services requires that. Thank you.
Mr. Gonsalves?
Yeah, just to reiterate some of the other comments, I think, and I said this in the back, that, our economy is at a tipping point currently, in my opinion, and I think we need to do as government is, to do what we can to survive in the mode we're in with the monies that we have available, and be sure we don't tip that scale to the wrong side. I think the more money that we leave in the pockets of our constituents and our business and our property owners, the better chance we have of them investing in our community and expanding and creating more tax dollars. I'm not an advocate of increased taxes, but if there need to be some increases, I would consider them. But currently, I think millage neutral and working within our scope of our means is probably where we ought to consider. But I do echo Ms. Eugene's thoughts. Things do go up. Inflation does happen. But so in government, we don't want to grow government too big and get out of control. We want to make sure we're doing the same job we're doing now with the administration and the council and being very, very fiscally responsible with our taxpayers' dollars.
Mr. Gostisam?
Parliamentary procedure, but you answered it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dugan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we were in Baton Rouge the other day, one of the things that the treasurer said was that our governments were outgrowing the rate of salaries, and that's kind of scary. We're at a point right now where the government's growing faster than the salaries, and the economy's growing, and it should never be that way. Our government's starting to compete with the private industries, and that's a scary thought for me. We're supposed to be services. Right now, we let our projects determine our revenue, and our revenue should determine our projects right now. So I'm going to stay millage neutral and hope that we can work something out. And and the economy turned around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dugal. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to talk about the way we have some of the items on here. If you look at summary number 4898, you'll notice that we have the general alimony listed first. And then on 4899, we have general alimony again. So the first one will be for the adjusted rate to be positioned at 4.03, and we take 8 votes for that. And then we would come back and vote on the same item, 4899, and that's where we take the 10 votes to move it forward to the 4.12 on here. Again, all these numbers gave you all the ability to put the money where you want it. So here we go. Summary number 4898, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for general parish, formerly known as the general alimony, which is levied on all taxable property in the rural areas of parish only at the adjusted rate of 4.03 mils for 2018. 8 votes. May I have a motion by Mr. Gachassin, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Mr. Gachassin?
Mr. Chairman, if I refer to legal, well, we'd have to suspend the rules for the limit on substitutions, or does it just carry on in each agenda item? Should we just do that now and get it over with?
Probably should just do it now and get it over.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind to cease debate first, and I'd like to offer a motion to suspend the rules that limits 5 substitutions currently on the floor.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gachassin, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Any
This is just to
discussion?
suspend the rules for the,
Right.
no, not for the millage, for the limit of the substitutions.
Mr. Shealy,
I'm sorry, good one, for your millages only.
and Mr. Shealy will vote on this?
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
resolution that affects the villages.
Okay. A total of 5 substitutions through it all. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gachassin, a second by Mr.
It's gonna
Gonsalas.
take the
Roll
limit
call.
off. We had 5, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Roll call. Okay, that motion passes. We've suspended the rules, so, okay. Okay. No further discussion on item number 4898. Roll call. Yeah. Mr. Brown? Okay.
If this bill, whatever.
No.
If,
Okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
okay.
You come back to it next.
Come back to with
Yeah,
10,
no, yeah.
then you have to, if it fail for 8, what you think?
Never know.
The better question
Oh,
is,
come
how
on.
it passes, do they still
Oh,
have
yeah.
to go to the next, do they still have the opportunity to go to the next resolution to increase it?
Is that what you're asking?
Can I have the floor?
Yes, Ms. Broussard.
I think what you're asking is, does this, if this passes, does the council still have the opportunity to go to the next agenda item and increase it?
That's one part of it. The next part, if it fails.
Then we have no millage set at all.
Reconsider.
Oh, reconsider? Why all that?
Any
It
further
needs to be
discussion?
flipped, didn't it?
Okay, if no further discussion, roll call. Yeah, you want to redo it? Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and re-vote on this item. Go ahead and re-vote. We had a tie up in the thing. We're still voting on item 4898, and that motion passes. You wanted to change it? To a vote? Okay, so now we're voting on summary 48 4899, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for general parish, formerly known as general alimony, which is levied on all taxable property in the rural areas of the parish only, at the adjusted rate of 4.03 mils, and authorizing an increase of said rate to 4.12 mils to be levied for 2018. The roll forward would take 10 votes. Mr. Gashassan has the motion, and Michael Landry is the second. Mr. Gashassan.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, on 4898 was millage neutral. This would be a raise in the millage all the way to maximum, and
That is correct, Mr. Gashassan.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Mr. Olivier?
I'd like to remind everybody, this fund here is really, fund balance is really low. So an increase in this fund balance would give us the flexibility to take care of those emergencies we'll have throughout the year. Thank you.
Okay, no further discussion. We will be voting. Vote your machines. That motion fails. Moving on to summary number 4900, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for the exempted municipalities, formerly known as the criminal tax, which is levied on all taxable property in the municipalities only at the adjusted rate of 2.01 mils. For 2018, it takes 8 votes, and note this millage rate cannot be more than the half of the general parish millage rate. We have a motion by Mr. Gashassan, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Gashassan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just for clarification on the floor, this is the same rate as last year, and this is not a millage increase on summary 4900, correct?
That is
For
correct, Mr.
clarification.
Gashassan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? Mr. Gonsalves?
Just to make a comment, Mr. Gossett, it takes 10 votes to roll any millage up and 8 votes to maintain what you have.
Just making it aware for the public.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other further discussion? Vote your machines. That motion passes. Okay, summary number 4901, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for exempted municipalities, formerly known as the criminal tax, which is levied on all taxable property in the municipalities only at the adjusted rate of 2.01 mils, and authorizing an increase of said rate to 2.06 mils to be levied for 2018. Roll forward of 10 votes would be necessary. But at this point,
That's right, you can't.
we cannot.
That's right.
So I have a motion by Mr. Gashassan and a second by Mr. Montaran to delete this item. So roll call. Okay, the second item, the exempted municipalities can only be half of the general alimony. So because we did not pass 4899, it cannot go to 2.06. Okay, so let's see, we're, begin voting.
This is the motion
To delete, yes, ma'am, thank you, Ms. Broussard. And that motion passes to delete. Summary number 4902, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for the courthouse and jail maintenance, which is levied on all taxable property in the municipalities only at the adjusted rate of 0.76 mils for 2018. We need 8 votes. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalves and a second by Mr. Gashassan. Mr. Gonsalves?
I waive.
Mr. Gashassan?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, in this one, 4902 is not a millage increase, but to stay millage neutral, correct?
That is correct, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Gashassan.
Chairman.
No further discussion. Vote your machines. That motion passes. Going on to summary number 4903, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for the courthouse and jail maintenance, which is levied on all taxable property in the municipalities only at the adjusted rate of 0.76 mils and authorizing an increase of said rate to 0.80 mils to be levied for 2018. It's a roll forward. We need 10 votes. I have a motion by Mr. Michael Landry and a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Michael Landry? Okay, Mr. Olivier? Okay, no further discussions. Vote your machines. That motion fails. Summary number 4904, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for the public library system, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at a rate of 3.5 mils for 2018. This is no change. We need 8 votes. I have a motion by Mr. Gashasan, a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Gashasan.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification on summary 4904 is no millage increase, and this is on this particular summary item, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Gashasan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Napier.
I echo Mr. Goshenson.
Okay, Mr. Olivier.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to bring this library millage back to the original rate of 4.00.
Okay, I'm gonna go on with, I'm gonna take your substitute, but I'm gonna go to Mr. Brown and let Mr. Brown speak. Mr. Brown?
I second.
You second it. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to substitute the 3.5 and move it to 4.0. Okay, okay, Mr. Gashasan?
I'll waive.
Okay, Mr. Gonsalam?
Mr. Landry, clarification, this would be considered a roll-up?
That would be a roll-up
So
of
you need
half
10
a
votes,
mils.
correct?
Do you?
Not on this one.
I don't think so.
I'm asking.
It's not to a maximum.
No, because it wouldn't be to the adjusted rate.
Need it? Right.
No, you're not going to maximum, no,
No,
you're not going to
we're
adjust.
going-
Right, adjusted.
No,
If it's adjusted max, no, that's right.
8 votes, that's all we need.
Okay, that's what,
That would be, yeah. If we were going up to 5.85, which would make me pull my hair out, it would be, it would be an adjusted
Just-
rate.
hey,
But that, the 4.0, it's just a regular vote of 8.
Mr. Landry, and just was, that was for clarification.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No further
Mr. Chairman.
discussion?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Gashasan?
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask Mr. Olivier, if he would compromise in that increase and pull from another millage to keep us millage neutral, would the gentleman consider? Yeah, I mean, you going up to back to 0.5, right? Would you pull 0.5 from? Would you pull that from maybe public building to compromise at a millage neutral? All right, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, yeah, we are voting at this point on a substitute motion to set the mills for the public library system at 4.0. Mr. Brown?
I just want to let the council know that this fund, we're taking a half a mil out of this every year. And after a while, we're gonna deplete our fund balance. This is only to help us keep from taking the $500,000 every year for them to operate. And this is not max. All right.
Okay, we have Mr. Tommy Landry. Mr. Landry?
Maybe they should consider not building 2 libraries instead of increasing the millage. So I'm against this, and y'all know how I feel about it. Building 2 libraries and their fund balance is diminishing does not make good sense.
Okay, Mr. Napier?
Just, if this paperwork's right, Mr. Brown said we took a half a mil every year. Oh, half a million, I'm sorry then, because that last year, it was the same as 16, so it stayed neutral the last 2 years. We didn't take, yeah. If I misspoke, I apologize. Thank you, sir.
And we have no further discussion. We are voting on the substitute motion to roll it to 4.0. Vote your machines. That motion fails. So now we're back to the original motion of 3.5 mils. Any further discussion? Yes, sir. We'll be at neutral. Okay, we're voting on the 3.50. Vote your machines. Mr. Brown? That motion passes. The mills will be at 3.50 for the library. Moving on to summary number 4905, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for the public building maintenance, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 4.64 mils for 2018. This requires 8 votes. Mr. Gashasam?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, this is millage neutral. We are not raising taxes for summary number 4905.
That is correct, Mr. Gashasam. You're welcome. Mr. Michael Landry? You waive. No further discussion. Vote your machines. Mr. Brown? Okay, that motion passes. Moving on to item number 4906, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for the public building maintenance, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 4.64 mils and authorizing an increase of said rate to 4.76 mils to be levied for 2018. This would be a roll forward, and we need 10 votes. I have a motion by Mr. Olivier and a second by Mr. Brown. Mr. Olivier.
Everyone, in public building, we do have incurring costs at the jail every year for upgrades. So we can use this extra funding to support these additional costs. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brown. Waive. No further discussion. Vote your machines. Mr. Mottram? Okay, that motion fails. Summary number 4907, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for the public health unit, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 2.06 mils for 2018. This is going to require 8 votes. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalves, a second by Mr. Gashasam. Mr. Gonsalves?
Just to reiterate, like my colleague, this is remaining millage neutral.
That is correct, Mr. Gonsalves. Mr. Gashasam?
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Gonsalves.
Okay. Mr. Olivier?
I can agree with this millage rate of 2.06. We do have a healthy fund balance in this account, and I don't think we'd be hurting by leaving it like it is. Thank you.
Okay. No further discussion. Vote your machines. Okay, that motion passes. Summary number 4908, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for the public health unit, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 2.06 mils and authorizing an increase of said rate to 2.11 mils to be levied for 2018. This will be a roll forward. It'll take 10 votes. We have a motion by Mr. Olivier and a second by Mr. Brown. Mr. Olivier? Mr. Brown? No further discussion. Vote your machines. That motion fails. Okay, now we're moving on to summary number 4909, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for drainage facilities, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 3.9 mils for 2018. This item takes 8 votes. I have a motion by Mr. Gashasan, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Mr. Gashasan?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification on summary 4909, this is a raise in the millage from the previous year.
Correct. The previous year was 3.45.
Without a substitution, I won't support it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Trahan.
For the drainage facilities, we got 2 projects that we going to probably need a match on. The one along Highway 90 and the $5 million, the $1.2 million we're going to need to match from the governor's deal on the detention ponds. Just for y'all information. Thank y'all.
Okay. Ms. Broussard.
I'd like to offer a substitute motion to levy the tax for the drainage facilities at the rate of 3.45, which is millage neutral.
Okay. And we have a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Mr. Gonsalas, any comments? Okay. Mr. Gashasan.
Waive.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Olivier.
You know, our resilience for drainage in this parish is so important that we need to continue the process we started when the administration took office. One of the few comments I get about drainage, look, people are seeing the improvement in our drainage systems, and it's starting to show the effect on what we're doing in minimizing water levels in certain areas of the parish. To slow down the process, I think is a mistake by this council. You know, we're looking at national flood insurance rate possibly going up in a year or so. So anything we do right now to impact our flooding in this parish going to have a direct effect on the national flood insurance rate. So I want to make sure y'all keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Tommy Landry.
I concur with what Eugene said also. It's kind of ironic. We're going to reduce our drainage so the roads will flood so we can't get to the library.
Good point, Mr. Landry. Good point. Mr. Gonsalas.
Just a quick question. Mr. Richard, how many miles of drainage we did in this year so far?
In the last 6 months, we did 61,000 plus feet. So it's about 11.6 miles.
And we did all that with 3.45 current mills that we're...
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we
Exactly.
did.
What
Good
we
job.
have.
Thank you, and appreciate the effort that Public Works is doing. Great job on drainage. It's so important to this parish, and I think we can continue that effort at 3.45 for the next year. Really do.
Mr. Gashasan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to address Mr. Olivier's his statement, in no way does my voting for millage neutral go against what Mr. Richard has done. I think he can still continue to go in the progress that he's going. And to address what Mr. Landry said, this is not a decrease in drainage. This is the same that we collected from last year, and there may be an increase, depending on new construction. So, Mr. Richard, you've done a great job as far as drainage, and we got money to continue going. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, next up in the line is Ms. Broussard.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Mr. Gonsalas and Mr. Gashasan said. Nobody's suggesting that we should slow down what we're doing on drainage. We went up 0.37 mils last year on the drainage. It was 3.08 in 2016, 3.45 in 2017, 3.01 in 2015. So it's steadily been going up. The progress is there. Nobody's suggesting that we should slow it down, but we've all heard a lot of talk about we need to find some kind of dedicated source for our roads. And if we put all of our eggs in one basket and put it all in drainage, we're not going to have that revenue source for roads. So while I do believe that drainage is a top priority in our community, I do not think we should continue to put it as a priority over roads. And I think we need to keep keep doing what we're doing with drainage, leave it where it's at, we are getting a lot of work done in drainage. We have done more in the last 2 years than has been done in the last 30 years. So I don't think anybody can fault us for what we've done in drainage. We have worked our butts off. Let me not say we. The administration has worked their butts off in drainage, and we appreciate that. But I think we need to save the money that we can get from our revenue base for our road projects. So that's why I'm requesting that this council support that we stay at 3.45.
Mr. Traum.
Y'all, just want to remind y'all, we getting money from the state government to match. Where are we gonna go if we gotta do these projects on our own? You know, we gonna wait? Y'all gonna do something with it next year after? No, it's coming to a vote. Y'all ain't gonna raise this millage, okay? I mean, we really need to look at drainage. People are flooding. We lost 4 businesses along 90 already. You know, people, let's think ahead. What we gonna raise it, you know, we preparing. Sooner or later, if we don't raise this millage, we're gonna do some cutting somewheres in drainage. I'm just asking y'all to support this. I mean, we said we come here and we work together. Let's work together on drainage. It all affects everybody. Everyone sitting at this seat, it affects everybody. Y'all all drain on the rural districts, okay? We asking for y'all support on this.
Okay, Mr. Dugas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of good points being made tonight about the draining, but piggyback from something Ms. Broussard said, our drainage problems today are culminating from years of neglect prior to us. At some point, we're going to catch up, and then the revenues generated is going to be enough to maintain, and that's what we're looking for, a point where we can just maintain and get caught up. And let me just remind everybody here that the millage is not the only money that's going to the drainage fund. They're getting the surplus from the mosquito abatement money that's coming in too, so.
That's part of the drainage fund.
No, but it's for drainage.
That's what you're looking at,
Right,
yeah.
so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Napier.
I'm really fighting with this one because, like Marty, I have a rural district, and one of my main concerns is drainage, and the other one is roads. And we have not a dime to spend on roads, and I'm getting it more and more where people are asking, what are we going to do about the roads? Well, we have something coming up in committee where we have to make a decision about the roads. So Natalie said it the best for me. Mr. Richard, you and your administration, Public Works, has done a great job where we were millage neutral. Where we were at 3.45. We went up last year. I'm fighting it, but I said that I was going to sit here tonight and go millage neutral, even though I know drainage is such an important thing. But I have faith in the administration that with the monies that come in, and that we can keep going in a good direction. And we have really gone leaps and bounds in the 2.5 years that you've been at the helm, and hats off to you, and keep up the good work, and hopefully you can make it with where it's at, if that's where it goes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Olivier.
Question for the administration. Maybe Larry or Kim can answer this question. The 3.5 we're currently getting right now, is that funding our whole drainage projects? Is that collecting enough money?
We currently have deficits budgeted in drainage.
So we're going into fund balance right now?
Yes, sir.
In the drainage fund. So, being millage neutral in this case, it's not helping us. We're going into fund balance to meet the needs of our drainage problems today in the parish. And we can't continue doing that year after year after year. We're actually killing that fund balance. And it's going to catch up with us. We need to follow inflation on what it's costing us to operate all this equipment, to pay these personnel that's doing all this work for us. And a slight increase is necessary to keep up with the costs, to avoid us from dipping into fund balance from year to year, to meet those expenditures. Thank you.
Mr. Michael Landry.
You know, last year I sat here and went through the same process. And I keep hearing, well, people gonna come back, the oil field's gonna pick up, we gonna get money. It's not happening fast, I can tell you, very slow. And we losing people and we losing businesses. And I'm like, Marty, part of my district is in a rural district, and that's two things I hear: drainage and roads, nothing else. So sooner or later, we're gonna have to make some type of decision. We either gonna stay the way we are, lose more people, or we're gonna have to raise some funds some kind of way and do something to this parish. So I'm for going up.
Well, I hadn't said too much tonight. Sitting and working with Kimberly a lot when I was on the finance last year, I just, watched all the fund balances go down. And at what point are we going to have to say enough is enough? And then we don't want to get caught too far down. I struggle to vote for the adjusted 3.5. I joke with the 3.9. Probably the best thing I could do is get up and go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go against the 3.5, Natalie, and I'm hoping we hit the 3.9. So, any other discussion? We're voting on the substitute motion of 3.45 for item number 4909, drainage. Vote your machines. Mr. Trahan and Mathurin. That motion fails. Okay, we're back to the original 4909 of 3.9 mils. Any further discussion? Mr. Goshasan?
Mr. Chairman, I know we're all struggling with going up on the millages. I just, I took a ride today on my way here to this council meeting, and I know you guys got to notice what I noticed: the foreclosures, the for sales, the for rents. That's got to mean something somewhere. I know we keep saying, what's another $15, $20? Well, it seems like a lot for those that are in foreclosure. A lot of our families are still struggling to recover. A lot of our businesses are. This millage is by far more than just families, but it's about the businesses. We have tables, chairs, Avalorm, all of that. It all matters. The bulk of a lot of this is paid by our businesses in this community. We're starting to see some form of increase here in our community as far as activity. I rode this morning on Highway 14, and if you notice, a hotel of ours is no longer in business. So the little bit that we're going to go up down the road, how can we ensure that another business stays here to pay? I continue to say Mr. Richard's done a fabulous job, his administration, with what we have, 3.45 mils. We're working with 16 people down in that department. Yeah. Look, this is not the way to go. Let's stay millage neutral. Let's buckle down. We've seen some improvement since we've been here. I think our sales taxes are at least at neutral when we compare them to being a deficit. So there are things happening. Let's help that. Let's help it to continue to grow and move in the right path. Going to 3.90, even if it's $20 to $15 a family, that's less money that goes into the economy. Just think about that.
Okay, Mr. Gonsalves?
Listen, my hat's off to all my colleagues because very well taken, very great points on this issue. Michael Landry, you hit the nail on the head. Our businesses are leaving, our residents are leaving, but do you put the stake in their heart and tax them some more? I just think I'm having trouble doing that because I think we need to leave it in their pockets and maybe hopefully they'll reinvest in our community. I think we have enough money to maintain our drainage program now at the current level and maybe get back on our feet in a year and try it again. But I'm not advocating going down or reducing money to the drainage program. I'm just advocating keeping the money in the business's pockets so we can try to keep us prospering and moving in the right direction. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, Mr. Trahan?
Look along 90. We lost 4 businesses along 90 due to flooding. Okay. Koto, they have businesses that flooded twice. Okay. we need to pay attention to the drainage, y'all. I know y'all want to stay millage neutral, but y'all, in the next 2 years, we're gonna have to come up with some money. And then we're gonna really be going into the fund balance, okay? Where are we gonna come up with that money? Give me an answer. Thank you.
Mr. Olivier?
Iberia Parish is ranked number 8 in the state, the lowest property millage of overall. I mean, we got a neighboring parish right there in St. Martinville at 125. We're at 70. Lafayette, Youngsville area at 95. And they're bursting out the seam with economic growth. You know, so we just gonna sit here and do the same old thing year after year and not make any changes? I think we're going down a spiral. To consider what we're doing. We need to get new revenue in here, at least do something to stimulate this economy in Iberia Parish. And we gotta do it by putting in new infrastructure. And I just don't know the direction this council is gonna be taking if we're not willing to at least raise the millages a little in order to get some economic growth in this parish and continue improving this parish. And drainage is a main factor in this parish. Thank you.
Mr. Gachassin?
Mr. Levy, to bring in more money that's the answer at the end of the day is to raise taxes. I thought it was microeconomics that said you build the infrastructure, businesses come, families move here, and families pay taxes in the businesses. What happened to that? This is not the right way to continue to move in the direction of raising taxes. I've never seen an economy that rose taxes and prospered. Our neighboring parishes are higher, but that's a good selling point for Iberia Parish, and our people need to continue to go out there and sell that. But I'll tell you this, didn't we raise taxes last year? Did we not? We were, Mr. Eugene, very little to you, but I'm gonna tell you, what you're not saying is how many of our poor people are out there that can't afford what they have now. I have a resident that called me about 3 weeks ago. It was an option. Did she pay her home insurance or did she pay her health insurance? So, I mean, that's the question. There are people out there that really can't afford an increase. I mean, we are having significant problems in our area. I mean, I believe it's the school board. Most of our kids are on poverty income and they're on free lunch. That should tell you something. The economy's not what you think it is out there. Step outside and instead of looking at a ditch, look at those families out there that's on those ditches. I mean, this is not the time, Mr. Olivier. I mean, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. If you want to raise money, let's provide the infrastructure for those people to do that. But taxes is, I mean, keep taxing them to do drainage is not the way to do it.
Any other discussion? Kimberly? Yes, ma'am.
Just to give the council additional information relative to the fund balance in the parish-wide drainage fund. The current year's deficit, the current year's budget, the 2018 budget that was adopted by the council has a deficit of approximately $1.2 million, which is going to reduce our fund balance at the end of 18 down to about $3.7 million. So at that current level of operations, and so, you know, we are talking about the work that goes on. So the majority of the expenses in that particular fund are operational salaries, benefits, the rental of the equipment, you know, equipment repairs, fuel, insurance, you know, those sorts of things. You're gonna have about 3.7, considering that current level of 1.2 of a deficit. That fund won't even last 2 more years.
So then besides 0.45, we would be talking about a major increase on drainage. To answer some of the things, yes, Mr. Gusher said we did have a low increase in millages last year, but previous councils had a big decrease in millage in 2008, and that's what probably has got us to the point we are. Raising taxes, if we look at the Smead subdivision in St. Martinville, it's really booming, and those people in that community did put a 10 millage tax on themselves just for that area. And St. Martinville, Eugene, is closer to 101, but you're still right. You know, there's a bunch of things that we have problems with. Franchise fees, Lafayette had 2.9 million, we get 130,000. We got a lot of things that were about them. The hotel did close, so did Antlers in St. Martin Parish. So you're gonna have all these type of things with there, but I think it's to put the money to the best use. And, I'm gonna support the 3.9. What I would like to let, everybody know at this time, that we will be voting on the 3.9, and I think if that fails, we will not have a millage. No, that failed. We're back to the original. Mr. Shealy?
Is that correct? Is that correct?
Okay, so if anyone's looking for a big drop in millages, you can drop at 3.9. So we're now voting on summary number 4909 for 3.9 mils. Okay. Okay, Mr. Gonsalas.
The chairman did not reiterate that if it does fail tonight, we do have an opportunity to come back
that
on the
is correct.
23rd and revisit it again. So don't think it's do or die.
No. I want to stand everybody transparency and know all that. Tonight it would go, but then we could come back in 2 weeks at the March 23rd, May 23rd meeting. So if we have no further discussion, we're voting on 4909 at 3.9 mils. Mr. Mathurin? And that motion fails. Okay, let's see where we're at. We are now on summary number 4910. Do we delete that one? Natalie, you want to give a delete? Ms. Broussard?
I'll move to delete based on the 4909 failing.
Okay, let me go ahead and read it first. Summary number 4910, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing the property millage for drainage facilities, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 3.9 mils, and authorizing an increase of said rate to 4.0 mils to be levied for 2018. Roll forward with 10 votes. Since we do not have the 3.9, Ms. Broussard has offered a substitution to delete, and I have a second by Mr. Tommy Landry. Okay, Mr. Gonsalas, for discussion?
I would like to offer a reconsideration for 3.45 mils for the drainage on tonight's agenda, please.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna finish.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
4910.
I didn't know,
No,
I'm sorry.
No, we good. So, is there any other discussion on the deletion for 4910? Vote your machines. Mr. Napier? Mr. Napier?
Napier.
That motion passes. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and finish with summary number 4911, introduced by Paul G. Landry, an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for the public library system, which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at a rate of 0.20 mils for 2018. There is no change on this, and it takes 8 votes. I have a motion by Michael Landry, a second by Mr. Gashasam. Mr. Landry? Wave. Mr. Gashasam?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, this 4911 is not a raise in the millage, but it is
That is-
millage neutral, correct?
That is correct.
Second
Mr.
question
Gashasam.
would be for Ms. Segura. Ms. Segura, would you know when we would be able to wipe this off the books or at least reduce it again?
I don't think that we'll be able to reduce it again until the debt's returned.
Completely?
The exact maturity date.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, no, it was-
Okay,
wasn't it
Mr.
2.5
Brown?
A couple years ago?
No, I don't, this is set for us to pay out the debt. That's all this is. No, you can't do that now, pay out the debt.
Okay, we have any further discussion? We're voting on 4911. Vote your machines. That motion passes. So we go on to summary number 4912, introduced by Recky J. Gonsalas, District 8, an ordinance to amend Chapter 12 of the Code of Compiled Ordinances in Iberia Parish, Louisiana, to add provisions thereof relating to swimming pools and spas, to provide with respect to the maintenance of swimming pools and spas, to provide with respect to the abatement of abandoned, neglected, inoperable swimming pools and spas, to provide penalties for violations, to provide for the effective date thereof, and otherwise to provide with respect thereof. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Gonsalas?
Yeah, just first of all, I want to thank Mr. Seeley for helping me out with this resolution. I think it's important that we address issues that affect our parish, and this is one that I have a couple in my district that we're unable to attend to, and it's just pools that are no longer being taken care of and are causing a mosquito haven. It gives mosquito control the opportunity to go out there and clean it up, and it's a public health and safety issue that they can go out and reduce the mosquito larvae in the pools and address that issue. And if it continues on, there's a small penalty phase in it to get to the homeowner to address it. So I think it's pretty lengthy, but we modeled it after a Baton Rouge ordinance that they have on pools and spas, and I think it's an issue that we need to address to eliminate some of the hazards in public health safeties in my district, and I'm sure in every other district has several. And the city has also copied on to this ordinance, and they're in their review process, and more than likely are going to attempt to vote on it to have the same ordinance in place.
Okay, Mr. Olivier.
A question for Andy. On the enforcement part of the ordinance, is everybody on board on the enforcement part of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If we have no further discussion, we could, nope.
Is this
Mr.
going to bring
Dugal.
additional work?
Thank you.
When you say everybody on board,
Well, you have the mosquito abatement director, you have the sheriff,
mosquito
the,
abatement,
marshal, parish
part of
government,
Public
yeah.
Works, Animal Control, Health Unit,
Right.
and I'll stop there.
Is
Okay.
that going to require additional work from these departments?
So when we talk about neglected pools, who makes that judgment and what's the criteria they're using? Is that specifically spelled out? Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. We have any further discussion? Vote your machines. That motion passes. Resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption to be voted on tonight's meeting. Summary number 95, introduced by Fire Protection District Number 1, the resolution amending the 2018 Fire Protection District Number 1 fund budget to accept insurance proceeds of $33,700 for the replacement of Unit 541 by the purchase of Unit 152. I have a motion by Mr. Mathurin, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Michael Landry? Okay, any further discussion? Roll call. That motion passes. We go on to resolution number 96, introduced by the parish president, a resolution amending the 2018 CDBG fund budget to reflect the new grant project awards in the amount of $800,000 for a water improvement project and the amount of $500,000 for a sewer improvement project, and further amending the 2018 Waterworks District Number 3 fund budget in the amount of $159,000 to create new account for an $800,000 CBDG project match, all to be funded from existing improvements. Have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Trahan. Mr. Brown?
Wait.
Okay, Mr. Trahan? Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 97, introduced by the Economic Development District Number 1, a resolution amending the 2018 Economic Development Fund budget in the amount of $250,000 to carry over funding appropriated for the Louisiana Caterpillar Gas Pipeline Project as authorized by Resolution 2017-82. All is requested by the Economic District Number 1 and to be funded from the fund balance previous years. I have a motion by Mr. Olivier, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Olivier?
Yes.
Ms. Broussard? No further discussion. Vote your machines. That motion passes. Okay. Okay, we're having a discussion. We're having some motions to do a reconsideration on summary number 4909. Yes. Okay, Mr. Goshenson?
You on the prevailing side?
We are actually looking into that as we see.
Warley was on the prevailing side?
The record was 7-5. I didn't write them down because we usually go into the machine afterwards.
We probably have a picture. Which number are you talking?
4909, the drainage facility. The actual motion.
I'm asking, if you're gonna do it right first, you know? Yeah. For the reconsideration?
Yeah.
But if Marty jumped, he's gonna want 3.9.
Where's the first one? Where's the
Marty, what number? What number?
Which one was the substitute?
3 point.
I'll tell you why I'm so hard on
Okay.
those.
So we're reconsidering the substitute motion of 4909
Marty.
for the 3.45.
Marty was on the near side or the,
He was on the nay side, so he was on the prevailing side.
On a 3.45?
He was on the nay side, Marty.
Okay, just clarification.
Which means he was on the prevailing side.
Right.
For 4909?
Substitute.
Substitute.
The
The substitute.
Well, why are we reconsidering the substitute motion?
Okay,
He's making a motion to reconsider.
okay.
Reconsider 4909 as written on the
No,
main.
he's making a motion to reconsider the substitute.
Okay, hold on, we're gonna get an opinion by Mr.
Yeah, I mean,
Shealy. Mr.
the
Shealy,
substitute-
can we go straight to the substitute motion
No.
of 3.45, or do you go back to the, what's written?
I think you go back
To the main motion.
To the 4905, the way it was
4909.
initially written.
4909.
4909.
4909, right?
Yeah.
Whichever one it was.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, hold on. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna vote for the reconsideration. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
if I can clarify, 4909 was the vote taken. It failed.
the substitute failed.
No, the substitute's out the picture. It never happened.
Okay.
The main motion, Mr. Trahon voted yes. It did not pass, so he was not on the prevailing side. So it'd have to be a member of the prevailing side. I'm just asking to follow the rules in case we do pass it, we don't have to come back.
We want to do that. We want to do. Okay, Ricky, are you going to ask for that?
Well, let me just throw another curve to you. What was the prevailing side? Because it
no vote?
failed.
7-5.
No vote.
So do we have the ability to reconsider
Yeah.
since there was no?
Correct.
Okay.
It wasn't a tie.
Okay.
So no vote.
You voted no for the.
The no vote was the prevailing side.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Gonsalas voted for the, he was on the 5 votes for, the 7 votes for, to kill 4909. Okay, and he's asking for reconsideration.
Reconsideration on 4909, because I was on the prevailing side and moved and voted to not increase to 3.9.
The vote is on the reconsideration.
Okay, so we're gonna, right now, what we're gonna do is go ahead and vote on the that if we're gonna give a reconsideration.
Yeah, do you have a sec? I don't remember a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas and Ms. Broussard, and who's on third? So, we're gonna,
Mr. Chairman, before you move forward. Mr. Chairman, I'm turned legal. There was a decision made by the council that failed. And I believe we have an ordinance that specifically deals with that when a motion has failed.
it cannot come back up. So how would that apply to this?
You're still in the same meeting.
So if I'm still in the same proceeding date, it doesn't follow? Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let's, we're going to gather up again. What we're voting on now is to vote on the reconsideration. Yeah, right, to see if we are going to consider it. So vote your machines. Correct, correct. Tommy Landry? Okay, that motion passes. We're going to reconsider this. So now we're on summary number 4909. Okay, so I'll read it again. Read it again. Okay, so we're at an ordinance setting forth and establishing a property millage for drainage facilities which is levied on all taxable property in the parish at the adjusted rate of 3.9 mils for 2018. This needs 8 votes. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Broussard and a second by Mr. Napier. Ms. Broussard.
Yeah, I'd like to offer a substitute motion to set the millage for drainage facilities at 3.45, which is millage neutral.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Napier is the second. That's good. Any discussion, Mr. Goshasan? Okay. Okay, so we're actually voting on 4909 drainage facilities at 3.45. Vote your machines. That motion passes. So we have a millage of 3.45 on 4909. Okay, and we call for adjournment now of the, we have a motion. We have a second by Ms. Broussard. We'll take about